maybe I'm getting to where you are. It's like that's what.
He's just so nonchalant. It's just whatever for him. It's just whatever for him. He's just like, it's just.
Look, I have like 2 columns.
No, it looks good. No, but you just say it's like some grunge. We're making our new.
We'll be starting in 1 minute.
Oh, we should do the. Oh yeah.
That looks stupid with 3 people.
We're with 2 people.
No, look at the shot.
Ready? No,
It's supposed to be a smart.
do it, Tom.
Yeah, get that off of there. Wait, did it look good or no?
Mr. Martin, should we? Should we do it?
Okay, I call this meeting to order. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Today, our student representative is Sarah Suarez Sarmiento from Booker High School. She will eventually lead us in the pledge. If you would please stand, remove your hat, put your cell phone on silent. The Booker High School JROTC will present the colors, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Forward, march. March on, march. Colors, turn. Color guard, hold. Present, arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. One step backwards, march. March on, march. Colors, turn. Forward, march. Colors. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. About. Face. Forward. March. Mark time. March. Colors. Turn. Forward. March. Please be seated. Tonight's art highlight features Riverview High School guitar trio called Protozoan. Protozoan is known for their original compositions, drawing inspiration from a variety of international and cultural distinct scales and cadences. The original piece they will be performing tonight is called The Three-Headed Snake, which is based on a Phrygian dominant scale, commonly used in the Middle East and North Africa. The members of Protozoan is Tommy Lalo. Does that sound right? All right, perfect. Joseph Delgado Knack and Alexander Hemmerline. The guitar instructor at Riverview is Logan Martin. Their proud principal is Aaron Hoy. Please welcome Protozoan. Encore, encore. Well, thank you very much. Absolutely awesome. And especially that's your original composition, right, fellas?
Correct.
That's pretty awesome. I'd say, hey, another round of applause for them. What a great job. Prior to today's meeting, the board members, superintendent, and the cabinet participated in a question and answer session with STAR students from the Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota and DeSoto counties. STAR, which stands for Students Taking Active Roles, is a training program created to encourage youth to take active roles in their community. These students are in the audience tonight. If they would please stand and be recognized. There you go. Thank you. Our student representative is Sarah Suarez Sarmiento from Booker High School. Welcome, Sarah. Nice for you to join us tonight. If you would, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what your plans are after high school.
So, hello everybody. My name is Sarah Suarez Sarmiento. I'm a CFES Brilliant Pathway Students Ambassador at Booker High School, and I'm also a senior, so I'm graduating this year. I'm currently involved in the ACE program. I'm also the leader of the fashion club. I go to competitions with the TSA club or Technology Student Association, and I'm also in the ambassadors program. My passion has always been looking at the sky and wondering, where did we come from? Where are we going? I also wonder a lot about how black holes function and what's the science behind them, which is still a mystery to this day. So I'm pursuing a career in astrophysics, and I want to go to college to study that and get a doctor's degree and hopefully become an astronaut one day.
And I know we discussed earlier, what university will you be attending?
I want to attend UF, hopefully.
Please, I told her we would remove her immediately. The only Florida State University potential students are allowed on the board. Well, we'd say with that, we hope you're the very best. That's very lofty, and I hope I could say that I met you before you became an astronaut and went into space. I think that's absolutely amazing. Before the meeting, I presented you with a certificate, as well as Superintendent Connor gave you a challenge coin for coming to serve tonight. We're very, very appreciative of you, and we really wish you the very, very best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me too.
Our first presentation is to recognize the Sarasota County Teacher of the Year with Mrs. Jennifer Vignay of the Education Foundation. Please approach the podium for the presentation.
All right, is this where I'm on? Okay, thank you so much, School Board Chair Enos, School Board members, Superintendent Connor. I'm Jennifer Vine with the Education Foundation of Sarasota County for the record, and it's a real pleasure to be with you all. As each year, our partnership with you all has been wonderful as we celebrate all of the teachers of the year through a wonderful recognition program. And each year, the bar just continues to get higher and higher. And so I thank you all so much for allowing us to show up at the schools where we surprise the teachers, and then we get to have the annual celebration, which you all are always there celebrating with us. It is my pleasure to tee up, before I bring to the podium, to tee up this year's 2025 District Teacher of the Year, which is Kelly Roselle from Venice High School. And we thought it would be best if you all could just watch a quick video about her, and then she'll have a quick comment to share.
It wasn't originally my game plan to become a teacher. I started school to become a lawyer, but I ended up tutoring a bunch of my teammates. I originally played soccer at Southeastern Louisiana before I transferred to the University of Florida, and I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with history. So I started tutoring my teammates. I found a passion there, and I also found a passion in history. So I ended up changing my major to history and then wanted to go the education route. So kind of felt like it picked me. I didn't pick education. I want to make my lessons fun for them, because a lot of students come in, especially to history, and it's their least favorite subject. And I want to change that because it's obviously the best subject. So I want to show them that history can be fun, and learning can be fun, but it's also thinking critically and using skills outside of the classrooms. With my new Holocaust class, I have the opportunity to bring history to my students, because that's the most important part, is to learn, what we should not do and how we can make a better future. And that's what I want them to be able to do, is to be better than us and to use what they've learned here to apply it to their future. My students are what keeps me motivated, and I want to, keep them active, want them to learn, want them to, wherever they go after college, just to, be successful, and I want to help get them there.
I think the biggest way that she empowers her students is by giving them voice in the classroom and really letting them speak and work together to comment on the difficult topics that she brings up during her lessons. She's kind of the guide on the side helping them, but really having the kids lead the lessons and be able to feel comfortable to give their opinions related to the topics. This year, for the nomination process, we got to hear directly from a lot of the students that were in her class that actually nominated her. And time again, in the nomination email that they sent, they described how she built relationships with them in the classroom and made them want to come to school, want to come to class. If you need something, and go talk to her, she'll help you as an administrator, as a teacher, as a student. So that's the thing I think that I admire most about her. She's willing to step in and really help out when you need her.
Building relationships, I think, is the fundamental key to success in the classroom. So I care about them. I ask them questions. I want to know, what's going on in and outside of the schools. So I make sure that I go to their games, I go to their sporting events, I go to their plays, I go to their concerts. Anytime they ask me to go to something, I go. I want them to know that I actually care about them as a person and not just as a student. So I think that relationship really helps foster our classroom, because I feel like we're a family in there. It's an honor. I love my school, I love my students. I love this county. I grew up here, I came back here. So, I'm honored to be a representative of Sarasota County.
I hope you all feel as proud as we are, so please welcome Kelly Roselle.
Thank you. I really, truly am honored and grateful to represent Sarasota County. I wanted to take this opportunity just to say thank you. I love teaching at Venice High School, and thank you to my principal, Mr. Karesley, and the Education Foundation, and Mr. Connor and the board for all of your support and the faith that you do have in me. I will do everything in my power going forward to represent this county well. So I just want to say thank you for everything.
Jennifer, can we get a picture real quick?
Picture.
Okay, next on to our next special presentation. I would like to introduce Mr. James Slayton to recognize the student athletes from Riverview and Sarasota High Schools, the Riverview High School girls swim team, which is the 4A state champions, and the SHS girls golf team academic state champions. Mr. Slayton, please.
All right, thank you. We've come together to recognize the amazing state championship accomplishments of the Sarasota High girls golf team and the Riverview High girls swimming team. I would like to thank Superintendent Connor, the school board, Attorney Duggan for realizing the importance of recognizing these great student athletes. These fine student athletes exhibit the very characteristics that we as a district desire for all of our students, which is to be the best citizens, students, and then in our case, athletes they can possibly be. The first recognition will be for the Sarasota High girls golf team, which won the FHSAA Academic 3A State Championship. And they had an amazing unweighted, that's how we do it in the state of Florida, you do it unweighted, 3.934 unweighted GPA. I would like to thank Sarasota High School Principal Ryan Chase, Assistant Principal Robin Livingston, and Athletic Director BJ Ivy for all their efforts in making Sarasota High athletics great. And at this time, we will welcome Sarasota High girls golf coach, Judy Sams.
Hi, I've been coaching the girls for 4 years. I'm so proud of these girls for what they did. I didn't even know this was an award, but I'm glad that they achieved it. We might not have beat them on the field and the golf, but guess what? We beat them in the classroom. So good job, girls. This is for them, by the way. I didn't do anything. They did it all. I'm just proud of these girls on the golf course. Their attitude, their enthusiasm, their dedication, even with the workload they had in the classroom, they still all came to practices, came to matches, was there till the end, even though they would tell me they have 6 hours of homework after the match. I was like, okay. And I always stress school comes first, classes, education first, your sport comes second. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just so proud of them. I've got their certificates here. Should I bring them up? Oh, okay. Ella Caskey, she's my senior. She's going to be graduating. She has a 4.9 4.9. She's not sure where she's going to school yet. We're hoping Florida State. Florida State. Eden Hurley, she has a 4.9. They're all these gals are in the ACE program and the MASS program, every one of them. So that's why they're so smart. Selby, she's our 4.9 as well. Selby Kirshner, Anandi Fuller, she's 4.3. And I have two gals that are not. One's playing soccer today in a match, and one is sick. Sophia Greenwald and Lexi Sanchez. And these are my girls.
Mr. Chase, if you'd come up, we also have just came in the mail, their state championship plaque. And that 3.934 was one of the highest in the state of Florida across all teams and classifications. It was actually, I think, number 3 overall. So amazing job. Our second recognition goes to the Riverview High School girls swimming team for winning the 3A girls swimming state championship. This was, by the way, Riverview's 4th consecutive state title in girls swimming and their 11th in school history. Amazing job. I want to thank Riverview High Principal Aaron Hoy, Assistant Principal Jay Lorenz, and Athletic Director Rod Dragish for all of their efforts in making Riverview High athletics great. At this time, we will welcome in his 4th year and his 4th state championship, head coach John Bruning.
Hello. I'd like to thank the board and superintendent, Rod Dragish, our athletic director, Aaron Hoy, our principal, and our assistant athletic director, who's also my assistant swim coach, Marcia O'Gorman. We are fortunate to come back here again. We are humbled to be able to come back here every year. We have a very special group of girls who do an unbelievable job and make me look really good. As the Sarasota High golf coach mentioned, I don't get any of the credit. The girls do all the work, and they deserve all the credit. Just like to point out, this is our 4th year in a row that we've won the girls 4A state championship. As Mr. Slayton mentioned, this is our 11th in school history. This is actually the 15th state championship out of 17 years for either the men or the women for Riverview to win the state championship for swimming. It's quite an accomplishment. We have a great tradition, and we hope to keep that up. We have 6 graduating girls from our team this year, 4 of which are going on to swim at the Division I level, and all of them are excel in the classroom as well. We had 7 girls on this year's team that finished top 3 at the state meet, which is impressive in and of itself. We had 3 individual state champions. Danica Ayton won the 100 breaststroke. Lolly Milbaum won the 500 freestyle, and Bryn Lavigueur won the 200 IM and the 100 backstroke. We also had our girls defend their 200 medley state championship relay. It's the 3rd year in a row that we won that relay with Bryn Lavigueur, Danica Ayton, Angelina Lista, and Isabella Cardenas. So quite a special group of girls. We'd like to recognize them. We call your name if you can please come up. Grace Aleji. Danica Ayton. Isabella Cardenas. Layla Chance. Claire Custer. Nella Duty, Bryn Lavagure, Riley Leach, Riley will be swimming at Liberty University next fall. Angelina Lista, Sophia Malkowitz, Lolly Milbaum, and Lolly will be swimming at the University of Alabama next fall.
There you go.
Maya Novikowski, Jessica Roby, and Taylor Schwenk.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get back to the agenda. Moving on, we're looking at the approval of tonight's agenda. I would need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the posted additions, which will be the Sarasota County School Board approved the January 14, 2025 agenda as submitted on January 7th, 2025 with the following changes. Human Resources Instructional / Classified Personnel Report, as well as the January 7th work session minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
Yes, I move approval of tonight's agenda as amended.
We have a motion by Ms. Ziegler. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, it needs to be a voice vote. Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
And the chair also votes yes. Motion carries 4-0. Next, moving on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Connor?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everyone, and happy 2025. Tonight, I want to highlight on our consent agenda item 11.3, which is the approval of a vocational program agreement between 421 Restaurant and the School Board of Sarasota County. This is an outstanding program that helps students who are enrolled in our SWD program gain that hands-on work, job-related experience throughout our community. I believe 421 Restaurant is in Venice, And so we are continuing to expand our local partnerships to allow our students to gain that experience. And we appreciate what you're doing, Dr. Hutchison and your team, in continuing to expand that. And then recently, as of last Friday, or Thursday, the state released graduation rates for last year. And congratulations to Sarasota County reaching a record-breaking 92.5% graduation rate. To the testament of all of our students, our teachers, counselors, everyone who's involved, so many hands involved from pre-K all the way to 12th grade when they crossed that finish line. This truly is a testament to the great work that the entire staff and the community who partner with us are doing to get our students graduated. And we still have more work to do because we're only at 92.5, and we're going to continue to push forward and get that 100%. Really cool experience happening at Pineview soon. They're going to be interacting through amateur radio on the International Space Station, ARIS. It's going to be scheduling a ham radio contact with the crew who is on the International Space Station with our very own Pineview students. So congratulations for this experience. We don't have the date yet, but tune in. We'll be sure to finalize that once we get that and get that out, and we'll be able to watch that on our YouTube Live. Also want to congratulate Terry Shin, another student at Pineview, who has been selected as only one of 2 students in the state of Florida to as a delegate in the United States Senate Youth Program. So he's set to go to Washington, D.C. in March. He'll also be receiving a $10,000 undergraduate scholarship. We have 2 students who are being recognized as the 2025 Sunshine State Scholars. Congratulations to Sarah Gutierrez from Sarasota High School and Anchor Beishihi from Pineview for being named this year's Sunshine State Scholars. We also want to congratulate Gabriella Austin from Northport High School, who will be serving as their alternate. This recognition will highlight their academic excellence and dedication to learning and potential in STEM fields. We want to recognize Woodland Middle School for being named an ITEEA STEM School of Excellence for the 24-25 school year. This is a recognition. It's a testament to the dedication and the innovation of our educators and administrators and stakeholders at Woodland who strive to deliver meaningful STEM education to their students. So congratulations. It's a very rigorous process to get this designation, and we congratulate you. And recently, the FLDOE awarded over $24 million to expand workforce development programs across the state. And I'm happy to say that not only did we receive 1 award, we were the only district to receive 2 awards out of that pot of money. We have about a little over $1 million that's going to assist programs focusing on engineering, building trades, and construction, as well as our district's dual enrollment program, receiving about $700,000 to assist on programs focused on HVAC. Congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work in applying for that funding. You may have seen on our social media that Riverview and Venice High School spent their break over in London. They were invited to participate in the London's New Year's Day Parade. It was an awesome opportunity. I got to go over and be a part of that, as well as Sarasota High School's Sailor Band had a trip to Washington, D.C. to represent Sarasota County. And just for an update, we do have our all-state music ensembles did have their competition last weekend, and our top music students from across the state of Florida were there, and Sarasota did very well. And we do have, coming up this Saturday, the Sarasota Manatee All-County Band performing at 3 p.m. at the Venice Performing Arts Center if you are interested in participating in that. And as we come to the end of this month, we're going to be celebrating Literacy Week, and that is something that we do statewide. It's designed to raise awareness around the importance of reading and to inspire Florida students and families to make reading a part of their daily routines. And this year's theme is Constructing the Foundation of Success. We'll have lots of activities we'll put out on our social media. We'll have people out reading to students throughout the week. Board members are invited to go out and to read to our students, as well as I'll be out there as well. So looking forward to that week. And then coming up faster than you can believe is already our school choice open enrollment window, opening February 3rd and running through the entire month through March 3rd. And we'll have more information to come out about that. But if you want to visit our website, you can get some information now at www.sarasotacountyschools.net/choice. And I'm really excited about this initiative. We're launching a new newsletter for our community that's going to be called In Touch. And so it's really a slick looking artifact. It's basically a magazine. It's going to be digital. We're going to have a lot of articles and updates and advertisements within that. And so looking forward to that. So be on the lookout coming in February. And just a couple of observances this month. It is School Board Recognition Month. So thank you, Board, for all that you do. You work tirelessly. We appreciate you. As well as this Friday is Professionals Day. So it is no school for students, but staff, unfortunately, you have to be at work on Friday. And then on the 20th, Monday, we will be honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. So there will be no school in observance of that. Just want to remind you that we do have our SCS Cares program. So if you don't know about that, it's a way to really spotlight some of the great things. There's so many great things. You've seen it tonight of what's happening across our district. But so many things happen that we don't see. And so for those who get to experience those great things in and out of school on a daily basis, this is a way that you can submit and recognize someone. So we encourage you to do that on a regular basis. And lastly is we just launched our online public comment registration today. And so you have a QR code that's here. We will open that about 24 hours prior to each of our regular board meetings. Bear with us as we go through the process of working with the vendor to customize that form as we move forward. But so far, it looks like we've had some pretty good success up to this point, and we'll see how it goes when we get to public comment tonight. But I thank you for your attention, and again, happy 2025. Mr. Chair, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. It's really amazing to me when you start looking at how incredible we have students and faculty here, and that our recognition is amazing. To have students be able to talk to the International Space Station. You know, we may be here with Miss Suarez Sarmiento. Maybe one day we'll be talking to her with another student from the county. It's just absolutely amazing about the commitment that our family, students, and our faculty have here in Sarasota County. Moving forward, let's talk about our next is going to be our school spotlight. Today's special presentation is spotlighting Heron Creek Middle School. I would like to invite proud principal Mrs. Christine Lawrence to the podium.
Good evening, Superintendent Connor and board members, and also those at the district and our visitors in the audience this evening. I'm Christine Lawrence, principal of Heron Creek Middle School. We are now an A-rated school. The last time has been 12 years, so I'm very proud of my staff, who many of them I hired over 20 years ago, I hate to say. But anyway, we have over 900 students. We have been the PBIS Silver Award winner in 23-24. We are a Title I middle school. And we have the Exceeding Expectation Award finalist for the state. And that will be the next slide that I have, which is something that we really strived and worked for. We also have our Cambridge ACE program, Rise Academy, and we have high school credit classes in many of them. The arts, technology, and extracurricular activities are just something that we do have at Heron Creek. These are some of our academic highlights. And if you look at this, it says we're an A-rated school with increases in all state reported categories. ESSA student groups all exceeded federal points requirements, which was above, we were 36, and you'll see that we went up quite a bit. Reading achievement, 57. Learning gains, 58%. Our lowest learning quartile gains of 58%. Our math achievement from 60, we went up to 64. learning gains 62%, and our lowest quartile 69% gains. Algebra 1 achievement rate of 66 versus the state average of 55. We had 100% achievement rate of 100% in our geometry classes. Science achievement rate of 54% versus the state average of 45, and our civics was at 86 over 67 for the state. And this is our award that I am very proud to say I'm a part of. It is not me, it is my dedicated staff. Being a Title I school has its many challenges, but it also reaps great benefits, and this is one of them. We started off, which we had no idea until I was at the principal's meeting that we even had this award, and then we're starting off with 562 middle schools in the state of Florida. Then it went down to an average of percent of economically disadvantaged students, and the poverty average is 71.6. Currently, we're at 73.43, but last year we were over 75%. Of that, it broke down to 352. Then the next criteria was a school grade of A or B, now went down to 126. Next, the no ESSA, which is the Every Student Success Act, and we went out of that and we went down to 62. Statewide percentile ranking, above 50%, we were 26. Then statewide percentile ranking of learning gains of the lowest quartile, above 50%, it went down to 13. And then improved achievement from prior year, we are one of 6 in the state that are going for the state award. So I'm very proud of my staff. I'm only as good as they are, and they deserve this award. This is just part of us. We are a PBIS school, and it is all about our kids that we support. Prepared, responsible, and controlled, determined to succeed and earn and give respect. We have had 3 awards since these became available, and it is all about the kids if you look at this. We celebrate them twice a month. At the end, we have a very large celebration for those kids. We have added to our classrooms Patriot Pride and all the expectations that this comes with, and also that we celebrate the kids that do that from the classroom using PBS cards. Our athletics, girls and boys basketball, and we have girls and boys track, girls volleyball, boys and girls tennis, boys and girls golf, and it is all about the kids. And hopefully we're going to be having that nice championship one again, that we're going to be both our boys and girls, because right now, tomorrow night, hopefully they will be successful, and then we'll be going on to the championships at Sarasota High. Our arts, we don't forget about the arts or any part of our school. The superior rating at concert band, MPA 23-24 for intermediate and advanced students. Several students have auditioned and gotten nominated for state, and in fact, one of ours was just there, along with Mr. Urbina. 20 students have participated in solo ensemble for the Festival of 23-24, and 16 of those entries earned superior ratings. Summer of 2024, one of the 7th graders got nominated for 7-star All-Star Honor Band, and that is what just occurred. So we're very proud of that student. And our art, we can't forget our actual art classes. Right now, Chloe Tuggle, first place winner, middle school, is represented now at the Capitol. So that was absolutely phenomenal, and she is in the bottom left-hand corner. And Marcelino Irigoyen, second place at Sarasota County Art School for middle school students. Our technology and more. We have a lot. And we celebrate all of those things that our kids are out there doing with their hands. So for example, we do have the same technology. We also started this year, which is a new one, agriculture. So Mr. Mersman is doing ag science, so we are now doing a lot of that with hydroponics, and we're building outdoor vegetable gardens. And we do spotlight all of our college and career activities that we have. exceeding expectations. This is just a little smattering of what Heron Creek does between our arts, our science projects, our cleanups from our kids, making our school beautiful, helping out the community in Northport. We have every other Monday, we have, thanks to All Faiths Food Bank, we service roughly 100 to 150 families come through our drive every other Monday to pick up supplies, so they do have food. And then a culture of community. We celebrate those students, parents, and community members that help here at Heron Creek, from our veterans, our SAC committee, our ESOL department, which we have a very large population now. We've gone from 42 full-time ESOL students to almost 120 within 3 years. So that has been a great increase, but we are very successful and work very hard with those students. So thank you for letting me present a little bit about Heron Creek Middle School in Northport, and thank you for allowing me to speak about them. Thank you.
Ms. Lawrence, before you walk away, we just want to say a few words. I'm sure there's a few things that want to be said. First, I'll start. First off, I'll say it really is. I don't think people realize this exceeding expectation recognition is very significant. And you saw 526 middle schools. That's a part of that cohort, and down to the top 6 to show you that you don't have any excuses, right? You have barriers, you have challenges. All Title I schools do, all schools do. You may have a little more, a little different, right? But you find ways to wrap around and get what you need to help students be successful. That takes a lot of resilience. I know prior to my arrival, I heard about the ravaging of Hurricane Ian and having to go through that. But you have been the rock solid leader of that school. And I don't want you to think about anything about retirement anytime soon. I know you've been whispering that around, I think, but we thank you for your leadership and appreciate what you do every day.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Ms. Parker?
I had to say, because I had the great pleasure of visiting your school over the fall months, and I have to tell you, every person that I spoke to at this school, I'm talking the cafeteria lady, the school nurse, the teachers, the assistant principals, every single one of them came to me and said, I feel so supported by Mrs. Lawrence. And it is clear that your staff respects you, they adore you, and you do amazing work. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Edwards?
I just want to echo what the superintendent said. The level of achievement through academics is outstanding on its own, but the challenges that you face as a Title I middle school often is insurmountable, and add Ian on top of it. It really, and the other thing too, I remember our meeting, she welled up. She cares that much. And she has an amazing desk set, which I remember comes from not too far from where I grew up. But it's the heart that you bring to the game, and it'll win every time. And I echo also the superintendent, no retirement.
Ms. Ziegler?
Well, it's interesting. I've heard this before, and you mentioned it many, many times, was about your team. And so I think that obviously comes from the heart, and you believe that dearly, and clearly they feel valued. And I think that's a testament to the kind of leadership that you bring forward. Congratulations on the A. And I know that was a lot of work, but I also know there's so much heart there. And was mentioned, you guys have overcome some extraordinary obstacles the last couple of years, but you are resilient, and really excited to celebrate you all today. So thank you.
And I would also say the same thing that everybody's already said. What a great opportunity, great job. Would you say 12 years ago was the last time you got an A?
Yeah.
I mean, that is really some incredible, and showing that, the dedication of you and your staff, because really that's the people that put in all the time and the work, plus the family. So congratulations, thank you, more than well deserved. All right, I now recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing for the instructional materials adoption process. This is a requirement pursuant to state law and board policy. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to speak about the instructional materials that are recommended for adoption by the board and to provide input to the board. The materials were advertised and have been available for public review. I will now ask Superintendent Connor to present this item. After his presentation, any member of the public wishing to speak will have 3 minutes to provide input to the board on the proposed instructional materials. Superintendent Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, the board is conducting a public hearing on instructional materials being recommended for adoption. The list of materials is attached to the agenda item and includes materials for the K-12 science. These materials have been reviewed by a district adoption committee, voted on at the school level, and are being recommended for adoption. As required by state statute, a 20-day public review of the recommended materials and a public hearing is required before the board can vote for the adoption. The public review requires that the district provide digital access to the recommended materials via the district website. The public hearing this evening is to provide the opportunity for the community to share comments about the materials with the board. The board does not need to take any action at this time, but will be asked to vote at the next regularly scheduled board meeting on February 18th. At this time, you may call for public comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. So as we move forward, you'll see up on the board your name is on there. And I understand, Marjorie Peter, that you would also like to speak on that, correct? Thank you. We will add you at the end. We have you set up as in a different agenda item, so we'll go ahead and we'll put you as part of that as the last. So does anyone signed up to speak for the public hearing on the adoption of the recommended K-12 science instructional materials? We do see 4 people as it is. 3, well, Ms. Peter is also part of that. So as this is, when you come forward to step up to the podium, again, please have patience. If there is any corrections or additions, please just speak up so that we can make sure that we take care of and hear your comments. So if you didn't get to sign up or weren't on there, as we are going through this process, please give us, a little bit of patience. So if you want to speak at the end, please raise your hand. So when you come up to the podium, if you would just state your name based upon how it's presented on the screen. So the first one, if you look, would be Carol Lerner. Oh, okay. That is an issue. So it's Carol Lerner, Michael Weddle, Robin Williams, and then Marjorie Peter. And then we'll have you two at the end. Just speak your name with this again. We're just trying to get through the process. So thank you.
Hi, good evening. Carol Lerner. I'm speaking for Support Our School. I have been in public education for over 50 years, and this is the first time I ever remember a public hearing on the adoption of textbooks. In my experience, textbook selection was always left to professionals, AKA teachers. I looked at some of the textbooks online. I must say it was difficult. It took me a long time to figure out the system, but I eventually did. I was pleased that the adopted environmental science book, which I have raised concerns about, was competently discussed global climate change and global warming. That was one of my big concerns. But I don't want to spend time critiquing the textbooks per se, but rather I want to focus on the process that led to Sarasota teachers being only given 2 or 3 options of Florida Department of Education pre-selected textbooks. In my opinion, this is censorship. I come from districts where committees of teachers were free to use their professional judgment to decide what textbooks best serve their students. That might lead to multiple textbooks for different levels of students within the same subject. The Florida DOE says its rationale for pre-selecting books is to make sure they align with the state standards. That's okay. But it's clear from what has transpired over the past couple of years that their main goal is to ferret out CRT and the like to end up with a textbook that passes muster with groups like Moms for Liberty. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a censor is an official who, quote, examines a book or other material and suppresses unacceptable parts of it. This is what the Florida DOE does in insisting that textbook companies put out Florida editions and in insisting that these textbooks be rewritten to eliminate CRT, SEL, LGBTQ+ themes, and their ill-conceived definition of pornography. Do you remember when some school board members wanted the district to hire from Vermillion Education Consulting, Jordan Adams? He was revealed to be one of the DOE math textbook reviewers who nixed textbooks because he claimed they had CRT and math tables and SEL and proposed group discussions. I am also concerned that classroom teachers are limited when choosing supplemental material for fear of challenges. We want to invite you to support our schools to take a stand and tell the Florida DOE and the legislators who back them that we don't want censorship at any stage of instructional material adoptions. Let's allow our Sarasota professionals to fully do their job.
Thank you. And we will have to figure out how to make sure that we get another television monitor for those that are sitting past that first level of TVs back there, as well as we do now, they made it so that you can see the timer. It should be on all of the screens as it continues to go. Again, we're trying to, whatever's the best for you, for the speakers, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So next then would be, as we look, would be Michael Weddle, then Robin Williams, then Marjorie Peter.
School board members, I love the guitar piece. I need to say that, Plato said that students should never be exposed to the Phrygian scale, just to say. I hope no one from the Classical Academy was listening. I also got to talk about process, and part of that is my failing. I saw all the textbooks, science textbooks that were approved by the state. I did not realize that we had chosen one, or books, and so I have not seen the books that we chose, and so I apologize for that. I am a doctor, I'm also I have a PhD in the health sciences. My research was on epilepsy, and like Carol, I really believe that we have to be careful if we're outsourcing decisions about our instructional materials, especially science textbooks, to people who are basically science deniers. They embrace pseudoscience. Our students deserve the very best. Our students deserve brilliant careers, and that's really what we owe to them. For the past few years, I've taught a course at the Ringling Osher program on science and pseudoscience, including vaccine pseudoscience, climate pseudoscience, race pseudoscience, which is very much still a thing. New College recently decided to sponsor a program with the Biodiversity Institute, which promotes white supremacy, eugenics, very much a pseudoscience. So it's out there, and we have to give our students the armor that they need in order to protect themselves from what's out there and understand what science really is. There's a cost you pay for living in a state where there are science deniers in politics. We saw that during COVID. We still have 500 COVID deaths every month because of people who are under-vaccinated. We saw that during the hurricanes. We are all in Sarasota County victims of science denialism. This week it's Los Angeles' turn. We face consequences if we allow this to get into our schools. What I read was that one chemistry textbook had to remove 90 pages of health science in order to make it past the Florida censors. So please, if we do have textbooks that are deficient, we need to have supplemental materials, curriculum planning materials to help the teachers augment what's in the book with real science. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we will have Robin Williams.
Taught biology for 35 years in environmental science. I want to thank our teachers for spending many hours evaluating science textbooks for adoption by the Sarasota School District. Having done that myself in the past, I want to let people know that teachers don't get further compensation for their efforts, but do it because they care about having the best resources for their students. Teachers in Florida and our school district, however, have a more difficult situation than I did as a teacher in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I was able to choose from any available textbook. For those who say there is no book banning here in our Sarasota schools, it is book banning when virtually all our science textbooks have to be Florida editions and pre-approved by Manny Diaz's Department of Education in order to be adopted. What textbooks did not have a Florida edition and were totally off the table? What was removed from the Florida editions? What was modified to not offend? Science is universal. Scientific theories, laws, and facts are universally accepted. Sadly, in Florida, there's Florida science, which really is an oxymoron from a scientific perspective. Bias should not exist in science, and when bias has been found in scientific research, the scientific reputation is finished. Dishonesty by omission as well as by commission are both ruinous. Truth is key, and those responsible at the Florida Department of Education, those responsible for censored textbooks in Florida, are also guilty on both counts. It was only in several courses, likely with a small statewide enrollment, were any of the books just regular textbooks and not Florida editions. It's probably because it wasn't lucrative enough for publishers to make a special Florida edition for courses like forensics. But for some of these courses, there was only one choice on the approved list. So our teachers were tasked with having to choose the best of what was available from what we all know is not the best, censored science. Given what our teachers had to work with, I do have a question, though, which I imagine was not the teacher's idea, but the parameters they were given. Why is there only one book approved for all levels of students, particularly in a subject like biology, which all students take? Does that have something to do with our financial situation? Because we are financially strapped as a state, not our district, but we're at the bottom of the barrel nationally for funding for public education. I can understand one choice for more specialized elective science course with small student enrollment. I never taught in Florida public schools, but I'm basing this on
Ms. Williams? Yeah, the timer is done with the 3 minutes, but yeah, I apologize. If you please go ahead and wrap up your comments.
I would hope that one concern is that our teachers, I found, anything additional they want to bring in, they often have to get pre-approval. And I know that was something I didn't have to do. I asked about it because I did go over to the Board of Ed office, and I couldn't bring in the Science Times and have kids pick any article that I could, like for a supplemental thing where I taught. No, everything had to be pre-approved. And that puts, problem for teaching science, which is supposed to be, thinking outside the box, exposure to all kinds of things. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So next up, we do have Marjorie Peter, and then we do have Wendy Rosen. We do have your card.
Chairman, board members, superintendent, I am Marjorie Peter, and I wish to address this special hearing, agenda item 7. As a former English major, you could say that I love words and information. I despair when any governmental body seeks to interrupt the flow of words and information. Should I despair? Should I be worried that the Florida Department of Education limits districts to choose from 2 or 3 Florida editions of science textbooks? Why shouldn't our students potentially have access to the same scientific texts available to those who study in Ohio or New Hampshire? Fortunately, I understand that the environmental science textbook chosen by a teacher committee with parent input covers global climate change and global warming quite well. But as a board, I encourage you to feel outrage because this is a warning bell from the Department of Education. Ken Miller is a science textbook author and professor emeritus of biology at Brown University. And he was quoted in a July 6, 2024 article in Newsweek saying that he'd received word from his publisher, who'd received calls from state officials requiring removal of some references to climate change, and the term was removed from middle school science books. How are our students supposed to compete in a world where everyone else has free access to the information? I urge you to band together as a board over this educational free speech issue and request that the Board of Education attempt to educate the legislature about the short-sightedness of House Bill 1645, which signals that climate change is not a state priority. Apparently none of them just lived through 3 hurricanes. Please channel and harness your outrage over the potential to limit students' access to knowledge that their counterparts are learning in other states. Because to me, outrage is more positive and productive than despair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rosen?
Good evening, Board. We in Florida have had quite a bit of experience with our state legislature having a habit of editing books for religious and political reasons. Florida's history book glamorizes slavery because the slaves learned what Governor DeSantis defines as valuable skills. I understand that the new curated Florida science textbooks that you are reviewing are missing maybe 100 to 200 pages from the original McGraw-Hill textbook that other students are using throughout the country. It's my understanding that you were provided only with the final edit of these books. As a former magazine publisher, I've reviewed thousands of documents, never without clear edits marked on each and every page. You should know what was redacted and what was removed. If you take your responsibility in this matter seriously, you'll find out exactly what was edited out of these books before you vote. It's not what's in a textbook that matters. It's what was removed from these books, intentionally removed from these books, by people who do not have the qualifications to do it. There's only one way that you in good conscience can vote to approve these materials. Have McGraw-Hill send you the original textbooks with the edits and redactions highlighted. If our students aren't learning the complete coursework, what happens when they take the SAT or the ACT test and find that there are questions that they never studied? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward for today's meeting, is there anyone else has any public comments on the science book adoption? Okay, thank you for having patience with us in reference to this. Maybe in the future, I mean, it does show up in reference when we get to the last 10 seconds for closing. We'll continue to work on it so that everybody keeps appraised of the processes. So with that, I now close the public hearing. And now we'll continue with the regular school board meeting of January 14th. Next up is going to be public comment in reference to agenda items. Each speaker, please state your full name. You'll be up to 3 minutes. A timer will appear on the screen. When the timer does end, it will automatically turn off the mic when it hits to 0. Please address your comments in reference to your agenda items and not to general comments. And we will go ahead and we will begin and move forward. All right, first up will be Carol Lerner.
Bride and blind.
As we're trying to populate the list.
We appreciate your patience as we learn our new system.
I'm first up because of the power of our new system, which I actually like. Thank you. Carol Lerner, speaking for Support Our Schools. And I'm speaking on agenda item 11.17, which is the financial report. The financial report shows that Sarasota Schools' budget looks reasonably okay right now. That is a good thing because many budgets throughout Florida are in disarray, with students lost to charter and voucher-funded private schools, and further decimated by families moving to cheaper counties and states because they can't afford where they live. As enrollment drops, school districts led by Broward and Duval counties are shutting down schools. As the birth rate continues to decline, this trend will accelerate. While Sarasota schools have escaped thus far the worst, Sarasota's student enrollment does show a slight decline, and there are other uncertainties ahead that should concern the district and the community. One of the biggest budgetary threats will come from the federal government. Districts like ours are already financially hurting from the end of COVID ESSER funding, but that might be the least of our troubles. Incoming President Trump, despite his earlier distancing, has embraced Project 2025, both in his policies and his cabinet selection. Trump's selection of World Wrestling Entertainment founder and billionaire Linda McMahon as his nominee for Secretary of Education underscores this, as McMahon embraces both Project 2025 and serves as chair of the America First Policy Institute, which designed a similar set of policy proposals for Trump. And what exactly are these Project 2025 American First policies? And we have to know this because this is going to affect our district. They include shutting down the U.S. Department of Education, and if that is impossible, weaponizing it. Project 2025 calls for the eventual elimination of Title I fundings, and we just heard about Heron Creek and what happened there in such an amazing way. That funding is critical to the bulk of Sarasota's elementary schools and some of the middle schools, providing them with funds to develop programs and services that enhance learning for low-income students. It also calls for Title I dedicated funding to be switched into block grants that allow states to do what they want with the money. It says the same block grant funding formula should be used to fund IDEA special education programs, what we call ESE. Not only would these initiatives hurt local budgets, turning the money over to the states will eliminate federal safeguards and guaranteed rights for students and their parents, especially important to ESE students. Other proposed Project 2025 cutbacks include eliminating some subsidies.
Ms. Lerner, go ahead, finish the comments. We'll put your mic back on. I don't know if I should say 10 seconds left or
Right,
not.
right.
It's just a different schedule
Okay,
up there.
I just have a few more sentences.
Thank you.
But an even bigger threat to public education comes from the Florida government and their strong support of universal super vouchers, and I'm going to talk about that later tonight. But these federal threats are not inevitable. School board elections result here shows that our community supports its public schools. Most of these policies need U.S. congressional approval, and the margins are thin, especially in the House. Let's get to work and stop this before it really hurts Sarasota schools. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward here, it's different than what's up on the board. So it should be Robin Williams, then Sandy Armstrong, and then Wendy Rosen.
Hi. Fortunately, Sarasota voters passed the 1 millage to support our school district, and for that, we're grateful. But nonetheless, the Sarasota School District has lost millions of dollars over the last few years due to Florida vouchers and the rubber stamp approval of so-called public charters. I'm opposed to public taxpayer dollars going to charters, private schools, or homeschooling. This is all the more the case in Florida, where teachers make only 50% of what the school district I worked in in Pennsylvania currently pays. We are an expensive place to live, but at the bottom of the barrel nationally in teacher salaries statewide. In New York, the average was $84,218, while Florida, it's $50,508. We're also low in per capita student expenditure. In 2024, Florida spent $9,983 on average per K-12 student. We did more, but while in Massachusetts, the average was $19,193 per student. That's more than twice what was spent here. We're lowering standards for teacher certification rather than raising them, and that might also be because of our low compensation for our teachers. So our financial situation statewide for education is not good. And there are no standards for teachers in many private schools. Florida is also violating separation of church and state by actively funneling money through parents to religious schools. That's money that's disappearing from our public schools, millions of dollars from Sarasota School District. For students who switch back to public schools, many months could go by till state funding is restored. Our already poorly funded public schools are funded even less by deliberate design by the Florida Department of Education in Tallahassee. As former Department of Education head and NCF current President Corcoran once said, if Florida gets to 1.5 million kids going to private schools, we'll cross the Rubicon in terms of destroying public education as, quote, you can't put the animals back in the barn, unquote. How many millions are we losing this year for our particular district? How many do we foresee being lost in the next 5 years? How many students have we lost? How many have returned? And how much will we lose in federal aid in the next 4 years under President Trump? This is extremely worrisome because that will, as was mentioned previously, really hurt, especially some of our more disadvantaged students and students with various disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Sandy Armstrong.
Board and Superintendent, I'm happy to be back here. I've been away for a while and so excited to hear the higher graduation record. You know, that's very exciting. And I hope that doesn't continue to happen because we've dumbed down our classes. So I am concerned about that with the change in the textbooks. I am worried about that. But at the same time, I'm very proud we've done so well. And I think we have to really look at that. There's a task force that I've asked Superintendent Connor about before on African American history. I believe it's called that. And I understand now, although we haven't heard from you about it, only meets every 3 months. And to me, that's not really a task force. And in a community where we have multiracial people and children, we need to have a task force that's meeting more often, that can interact with the teachers about what are they teaching and what aren't they teaching, so that we can see how we can do the best possible. So I really want to encourage you, Superintendent, to have those meetings more often, and let's do this seriously, because every 3 months doesn't feel too serious to me as a resident. I'm not going to be here for a while. I have a health thing going on. I have a brain tumor that has to come out, so I'm not sure how fast I'll be talking again. But I know that there are people who care so much about what you're doing, and that each of you care so much about what you do. And let's not let all this I call it craziness about taking things that kids need to know to make our world better out of our school district. And Superintendent, I know somebody and you were talking, but I hope at some point you hear, I really would like to see that task force get rejuvenated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And obviously, I'm sorry to hear that. And of course, best wishes and prayers for you. And next will be Wendy Rosen.
Hi, I'm Wendy Rosen with Support Our Schools. Tonight, my budget concern is for our students with special needs. Florida is ranked one of the 10 worst states for raising a child with special needs. We are listed in the company of states like Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and West Virginia. Families with special needs children have unique school choice problems. Yes, these students are eligible to apply for a school choice voucher. However, charter schools and private schools tend to cherry pick among their list of applicants. They prefer students that don't need those special services. Special needs children often get their education in our underfunded public schools. In Florida, our per capita spending for every student is far lower than the national average. Nationally, the expense per student is $17,000 per student. In Florida, we spend less than $10,000 per student. Our teacher salaries are ranked 50th in the nation. We haven't been able to hire enough teachers to meet our needs this year, and we have all too many teachers retiring or moving out of state for better opportunities. As of August, we were short 10,000 teachers and support staff. In 2024, universal vouchers cost our state $4 billion. These vouchers are now available to every family. As a Florida resident, a permanent Florida resident, Elon Musk, if he wants to, can bring all 12 children to Florida and receive a nice fat check of $100,000 from our governor. School choice vouchers are clearly for affluent families, not for middle class or poor families, especially those with special needs children. Ending the income cap restriction on vouchers has created a big hole in our state budget. DeSantis has vetoed nearly $1 billion of items that includes projects to protect our environment and support arts and culture and a host of many other things. All of these issues put a special burden on our budget and on families with children of special needs. We need to do better. Thank you.
And thank you. And then that will conclude of the hearing of citizens' reference to the consent agenda. So as we move forward and continue, we are now up to section 9, which is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move approval.
Motion by Ms. Ziegler. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edwards. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Are we able to do it electronically? Thank you, sir. Vote carries and passes 4-0. Next on is we're moving to item number 10, approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Ms. Ziegler. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edwards. Any discussion, please? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Next, we are now moving into new business of the board. Our new business items tonight are 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5. May I have a motion in reference to 12.1? Prior to that, if it could be please presented by Superintendent Connor.
Thank you, Board Chair. Tonight we are looking at the approval to purchase materials from vendors under a cooperative contract. I'm presenting for your consideration this for approval with Gray Bar Electric Company to support our district-wide lighting and electrical and data communication needs. This initiative focuses on replacing outdated high-energy lighting systems with energy-efficient LED solutions. So we have been working to date to successfully upgrade some exterior sports lighting as well as 2 fully LED campuses. So I'm bringing this just because it's a high dollar amount, $2 million allocation out of the capital budget. And we want to continue to advance this work across the district to improve our efficiency.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. May I have a motion?
I'll give it a whirl. Motion to approve the purchase materials for vendors or for services from vendors under the cooperative contract with lead agency that utilize competitive process for lighting, data communications, security products, and related products, services, and solutions, and Motorola solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for that motion. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Ziegler. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Next, we'll be on to item number 12.2. Mr. Connor, please, for the presentation.
Yeah, so I just noticed I gave you, I presented you the last one, I flip-flopped them. So this is for Gray Bar Electric. This is the one I just shared with you around the LED campuses. The first one was around Motorola Solutions in our radio emergency management. Again, I brought that to you just because of the dollar amount. It's as we expand to new schools, there's a need to reprogram them. So that I shared on the first item, which we've talked about these luckily. So fortunately, you already know that. But for this one, this is for the LED campuses.
In reference to Mr. Dugan, do you see that we need to go back in reference to the original 12.1?
There was a motion, there was a second, and I think it passed.
Yes.
Procedurally correct, so.
Okay, just verifying. Okay, thank you. In reference to 12.2, may I have a motion?
Yes, I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the cooperative contracts awarded to Gray Bar Electric Company, Inc. for the anticipated purchases of materials and services.
Motion by Ms. Ziegler, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker. Any discussion? Ms. Ziegler?
I just want to say for the public, we have one-on-one, so despite him saying that, there was clear clarity, at least on my end, so, but I'll be approving this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Edwards?
Thanks. I also think that the comment that the superintendent laid out there is a lot of that is because we're opening new schools and new equipment, new changes, new upgrades. So make sure that it's not, that you understand it's in addition to.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Edwards. Anything further? Seeing none, please vote. Has not populated yet.
It's 12.1, 12.2 hasn't come up yet.
Oh. You have to X out it.
Voice vote?
I believe so, Mr. Edwards. Go ahead and do a voice vote. Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
And the chair also votes yes, so motion carries 4-0, reference to 12.2. Next to item of new business 12.3. Mr. Connor, please.
Thank you again. I bring this to you really just in transparency that it's a $2 million contract. I'm presenting for your consideration the approval to award the bid for our HVAC factory chiller service and repair parts. This contract will provide essential support for maintaining our systems that have chillers. It supplements the work of our in-house technicians during peak demand periods and when workloads exceed our internal capacity. The contract does ensure that we'll have the availability of service parts and the necessary for timely repairs and maintenance, and we are awarding this to Air Mechanical and Service Corps, Daikin Applied America, and McCloskey Mechanical Contractors, as well as Train USA. They were selected through a competitive bidding process, and this will not exceed $2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the bids of Air Mechanical and Service Corp., Dakin Applied America, Inc., McCloskey Mechanical Contractors, and Train US, Inc. for HVAC factory chiller service and OEM repair parts in the amount not to exceed $2 million.
Motion by Mr. Edwards. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ziegler. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll go ahead and we'll vote. There it is. Did come up this time.
Last time it just didn't show the.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll next move to item 12.4 under new business. Superintendent Connor, please.
Thank you. I'm presenting for your consideration the approval to award bid for HVAC, DX, and light commercial AC system installation, maintenance, and repair services. Like the previous item, these are for our HVAC systems that do not have chillers and will supplement the work of our in-house technician during peak times. The awarded vendors for this one are Air Mechanical and Service Corps, McCloskey Mechanical Contractors, Mayaka Heating and Cooling. They were selected through a competitive bidding process, and the total contract amount will not exceed $1.5 million.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. May I have a motion?
I move that Sarasota County School Board approve the bids of Air Mechanical and Service Corp., McCloskey Mechanical Contractors, and Mayaka Heating and Cooling for HVAC, DX, and light commercial AC systems, installation, maintenance, and repair services in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000.
Motion by Mr. Edwards.
$100,000.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Moving forward to 12.5, another HVAC mechanical services. Superintendent Connor.
Yes, tonight I'm presenting for your consideration the approval to award a bid for HVAC mechanical services. The contract will provide repair and maintenance of our essential mechanical systems, including piping, ductwork, controls, thermal storage, heat exchangers, and boilers. These services are vital to ensuring our continued operation and efficiency. The awarded vendors for this are Air Mechanical Service Corps, Carrier Corporation, Climate Control Mechanical Services, and Train US, Inc. They were selected through a competitive bidding process, and the total contract amount will not exceed $2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. May I have a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the bids of Air Mechanical and Service Corp., Carrier Corporation, Climate Control Mechanical Services, and Train US, Inc. for HVAC mechanical services in the amount not to exceed $2 million.
Motion by Ms. Ziegler. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edwards. Any discussion, please? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Next up, we'll be moving on to public comment. We'll see if we get this to work appropriately. While we're waiting, I will like to, when I get the regular comments, I was going to say it at the beginning in reference to the terrible tragedy that's going on in California. You know, I think that, especially with everything that's happened here with the hurricanes, I think we can all kind of feel their pain. But I also would have no idea what it would be to have a fire raging down the hill with 100 miles an hour winds when you cannot see or be able to do or prevent it. I did see one report that they said that usually for one structure fire, takes 3 engines that in reference to this, they would need 26,000 engines and firefighters in order to put out the amount of fires. The last I had heard, it was still only 11% contained. So, knowing that, we will go ahead and I'll read these names, and then we have one addition to the end. So it looks like we have Marjorie Peter. If you come forward, then we would have Carol Lerner, and then we would have Robin Williams, Duff Smiley, Anya Dennison, and then Tracy Lipton. And each one will receive 2 minutes. If you would please state your name and you begin.
I'm not on the list.
Okay, we will.
You got it.
We will make sure that we get you on the list as it comes forward. We'll just ask you to come on up, state your name, give a brief history of yourself and your family, and then we will go from there. All right. Seeing that, go ahead and we'll restart the clock to your full 3 minutes. 2 minutes. Sorry, that showed up as 2:59. So again, okay, then we will have Jacob Gardner, Kelly Davenport, Bradley Mullet, Julie London, and then Sebastian Martinez, and then finishing with Tracy Lipton. Okay, Ms. Peter, thank you.
No worries. Still Marjorie Peter. I sense a scientific theme in the air tonight, at least for me, because once again, I'm here to tell you that we're on the eve of the Sarasota County Science Fair, now called Sarasota County Schools STEM Fair. And once again, I'm happy to beat the drum to urge those who complain and fuss that nothing good is happening in the classroom to take some time out, volunteer to be a judge. I've already confessed that I'm an English major, but I had access to enough quality science texts in my middle school and high school and college years that I feel that I can adequately listen to an elementary school student discuss their experiment, and it's a joyful experience. I'm sure that Sherry Dame at the school district would be delighted to have some last-minute judge sign-ups. The first round is a video experience. The students explain their experiment to you in a pre-recorded document. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. And that portion of the fair takes place January 20th through 22nd. The in-person judging takes place the morning of February 11th at Robarts Arena. Volunteers are definitely needed for that morning so that no student is standing forlornly by their poster board with no judge to talk to. Go for it. You will walk away smiling. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's an awesome event. Next up, please.
Carol Lerner for Support Our Schools. I just wanted to say, Mr. Enos, thank you for your words on LA. I have a daughter who lives there, and she's an art teacher. So it's what we've been discussing in terms of science books is very personally meaningful to me. I promised part 2. Here it is. In February 2021, I wrote an op-ed for the Herald Tribune that warned about the dangers of super vouchers, euphemistically called education savings accounts, ESAs. I said that these super vouchers were geared to destroying public education. Sadly, most of my predictions came true with the 2023 passage of the Universal Super Voucher Bill that now drains $4 billion yearly from the Florida budget. If redirected to public education, that money could give every teacher a $20,000 raise. But instead, we have a situation where billionaires can utilize that money. What I would like to focus in the next minute or so is on the political reason for this and who is leading it. Here in Florida, we have a quasi-government organization, Step Up for Students, that disperses the ESA vouchers. And they are actually organizing to destroy public education publicly. Doug Tuthill, he's the previous president of Step Up for Students, and now its chief vision officer, whatever that means, puts forward in a published paper last month called, quote, "The Third Era of Public Education," unquote, Tuthill is the protege of John Kirtley, the billionaire private equity operative and vice chair of Betsy DeVos's American Federation for Children, who wrote Florida's first voucher bill in 1999 that led him to eventually Step Up for Students. Does that mean I'm done?
Yes, just quick wrap up since tonight.
So I just want to say in his third paper, Tuthill says that AI makes it possible to turn education away from government and place it totally in the hands of families. Let them choose on a menu what their child would receive. It could be a micro school, it could be tutoring. Gone will be school districts, school boards, and employed teachers, and I think we really need to do something, and SOS is calling for an investigation and possible legislation to expose this and turn it around. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, next is Ms. Williams and then Lieutenant Colonel.
Yesterday, Governor DeSantis gave a chilling press conference threatening to remove any elected official or individuals like police officers who didn't support or help carry out plans for mass deportation of immigrants. The governor has done this before by removing elected prosecutors. Now he's using a heavy hand to intimidate all elected officials and people working in any type of law enforcement who don't agree with his or the president-elect's anti-immigrant policies. Will he succeed in silencing those who could potentially stop policies that don't respect our rule of law and result in human rights violations? Except for 1.3% of the population, we're a nation of immigrants. The U.S. only became a world power because immigrants built this nation. In Florida, immigrants are vital to agriculture, construction, health services, landscaping, trucking, the food and service industry. Most so-called illegal immigrants are illegal not because of any criminal history, but because they overstayed visas or aren't economically affluent enough to get good legal representation, and the path to citizenship has become far more difficult. Immigrants pay into Social Security and Medicare, benefits they'll never be able to collect. American children of immigrant parents have the right not only to be here, but as a long-standing Supreme Court decision, Plyler versus Doe, has held, all children, no matter their status, are entitled to the same opportunity to a public education as any other child. Our superintendent, school board, and legal counsel should put together a strategy and plans to protect students and their families. ICE or people designated under 287G shouldn't be permitted onto school grounds to interact with minors, as has been the case historically. I'm here to remind you that as a Jew, rounding people up is chilling. Not allowing immigrants in our nation is what my family and the European Jewish community faced. There was no way out, and by 1945, 6 million had perished because we and other nations wouldn't take them when there was still time. We must say never again to the rounding up and deportation of children and families. We must do everything in our power to uphold civil liberties, protect children and their families from extreme deportation policies. Many immigrants come to escape danger for economic survival. On the Statue of Liberty, it's written, "Give me your tired, your poor, your other masters, I lift my lamp beside the 70s, the home and Tempest tells me I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Most faith traditions welcome strangers. In Judaism, Islam,
Thank you, Ms. Williams. We have, it looks like the board stops after Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley, so if you come up, then we'll have Anya Dennison and then Jacob Gardner.
My name is Duff Smiley. I served 20 years in the Air Force, and after that I worked for General Motors and served as president of the General Motors Veterans Group. At GM, I raised over $1.5 million for military veterans outreach. I served over 6 years on GM's Diversity Council. As a patriot, I would like to acknowledge the extraordinary service of Karen Rose. She was the most qualified board member that has ever served. For 31 years, she served as a teacher, principal, superintendent staff member, and board member. She courageously terminated Superintendent Asplund, who was crowding out social programs, who was championing woke social programs, crowding out basic education. Asplund and Tom Edwards, the board champion for DEI and CRT, were bringing woke social programs which divided children into winners and losers. This promoted a hostile environment for all our students. In record time, Ms. Rose got the train back on track. She hired a new superintendent that has the support from all board members and parents. Mr. Connor and Ms. Rose put basic learning above social programs, and because of their actions, education has improved dramatically. A growing number of parents are moving to Sarasota to escape states where their children's minds are contaminated with CRT and DEI ideologies. The election of Edwards and Barker was an aberration given the national trend to download those failed policies. Disappointingly, last year, some of Mr. Edwards' supporters chose to sit rather than stand at the school board flag ceremonies. Sadly, today, one person chose to sit to do the same. These actions denigrate our country and trash our foundational values. I hope this doesn't continue in the new year. God bless America.
Next, we have Anya Dennison, and then Jacob Gardner.
Hello, I'm Anya. Happy New Year. I wanted to share some thoughts about how you can engage South County families with a secondary board meeting. I know that these meetings used to take place in both North and South County. I think it's not only smart but necessary to bring back one of the monthly meetings to South County. We live in a huge district, and it's extraordinarily reasonable that folks in Northport and Venice can't make the hour or longer drive to the landings. So it only makes sense to bring our community together by having this meeting at 6 p.m. in North County and another at 6 p.m. in South County in Venice. I think this board would learn so much from spending an equal amount of public meeting time with South County constituents as North County, and I think folks in South County deserve that secondary meeting and opportunity to speak with y'all so you can hear all of Sarasota County's voices. Plus, Cherina's, it's a shorter drive. Please let me know your thoughts. Thanks, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next is Jacob Gardner, and then Kelly Davenport.
Hello, board. My name is Jacob Gardner, and I'm currently a senior at Sarasota High School. Among the very pressing and critical issues being discussed today, I am here to address a specific concern I've witnessed firsthand: the awful state of our restrooms. What should be a private and sanitary space often feels more like a battleground of abandonment. Restrooms are frequently out of soap, paper towels, and even functioning sinks. They're filled with vaping clouds, truant students, and are generally viewed as negative spaces. As an SHS student, I've grown used to trekking across our sprawling 85-acre campus just to find a clean operational restroom. And yet, many of us still come up short. Sarasota County has become ground zero for these issues. But ultimately, this isn't just about mess or inconvenience. These bathrooms reflect broader challenges. They often double as sanctuaries where students go to escape fear, stress, or disengagement in the classroom. By framing restrooms solely as places of misconduct, we risk missing the bigger picture. These spaces highlight deeper issues from mental health to systemic neglect of student well-being, a pattern that has eroded trust in the board's priorities. The solution begins with restoring transparency in the board and rethinking how we prioritize student health and safety. Sarasota County must invest in clean, safe, fully stocked, and inclusive restrooms, transforming them into spaces of respect. But beyond that, we need to create environments, both in the classroom and across campus, where students no longer feel the need to retreat to a bathroom stall to escape the pressures of a school. By addressing these issues, we can bring our community together and rebuild trust in our shared vision for Sarasota County schools. Our bathrooms are a reflection of how we care for our students. Will they remain symbols of neglect, or will they become catalysts for change? At the end of the day, bathroom business is bureaucratic business, and the power is yours. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Kelly Davenport, and then Bradley Mullet.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Davenport, Enos, board members, superintendent. I'm an employee of the school board. I've been here for 28 years, and I'm a plumber. I didn't, following that. I'm here to speak on my behalf and to allow closure for myself and my family. I'd like to say that I'm being suspended, and I would like to, I wholly disagree to the disciplinary actions that have been brought against me and are solely based on accusations made against me during the hurricanes and not my professional performance. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, sir. Bradley Mullet, and then Julie London.
My name is Brad Mullett, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and speak. Board members, I'm up here to talk about 3 urgent emails that were sent to all school board members on May 16th, May 23rd, and June 3rd of 2024, asking for help for a Sarasota student. The emails requested responses and action so that a Sarasota student can begin recovery from the way he was treated by Riverview High School staff. Unfortunately, we did not receive any answers. The emails will be resent tonight and will now include new board member Mrs. Barker. It will also be sent to Mr. Connor. I'm simply here to ask that each board member please look into and respond to the urgent email. I ask that action please be taken now so the student can begin recovery. As described in the email, no student should experience such unfair treatment. The student is innocent and did nothing wrong. I am a signatory of the email as a concerned academic success advisor and a friend. Thank you for your anticipated input and responses.
Thank you, sir. Julie London, then Sebastian Martinez.
Hi. I really hate to be saying this, but I'm going to be sending a screenshot to you of what I'm about to say. One of you endorsed on your social media, consider alternatives to public schools by clicking like on the post. One of you shared the words, public schools transitioned our little girls behind our backs. How would a staff member or teacher react knowing that their own board member spread accusations against them? There is a website against transgender students, and this board member publicly tweeted that the people in charge were exhibiting bravery, grace, and grit. While you all have empathy for a student who is being bullied, you cannot feel the terror of the student who is targeted by an adult. A kid cannot process this. They just want to go to school and learn. The Sarasota board member espouses misinformation about transgender kids that makes the kid believe there is something wrong with them. When a board member invites others to join in and spread the pain, that's cruelty that no kid should have to face. People like this board member leave a lifetime scar. The horror is that these kids will emulate adults like this board member because they've been given the okay. The parents can't sleep and have restless nights worrying about the kids' mental well-being and physical safety. Imagine living under that kind of real danger to your baby, who you love more than life itself. When it's reported that gay students are more likely to commit suicide, it isn't because there's something wrong with them. It's because there is a silent complicity in the adults who are supposed to take care of every student every day. Who on this board will display bravery, grace, and grit just to do the right thing and defend the public school system? Ignorance and bigotry can't go unchallenged. As Tom Edwards says, this is not who we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Sebastian Martinez, and then the last speaker is Tracy Lipton, if no one else has signed up.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sebastian Martinez, and I'm a proud graduate of Booker High School. First, wanted to say congratulations to Booker High School for the increased graduation rate. I'm here today in opposition to the superintendent and the majority of this board's decision to cut meetings to just once a month. I'm here, rather than at Booker, sharing my wealth of resources and connections because now I only have one opportunity to speak to you. I want to give back to my school and the teachers who put me here today, so I applied to join Booker's Student Advisory Committee. But now I have to decide between advocating for thousands of community members or the school who made me who I am. As a former student who attended board meetings dating from before every sitting board member even assumed office with the exception of Bridget Ziegler, I shouldn't have to choose between the two. Cutting meeting times effectively limits our ability to provide public comment, shortening your constituents' time with you from 10 to 5 minutes. It undeniably creates an accessibility issue for constituents who have real and valid concerns who now have to wait 1 month before bringing their concerns to you. Mr. Enos, your constituents in South County have to drive anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half on a Tuesday, which isn't right. Niobe, one of your district's current students from Northport, isn't able to be here today because of that travel time. Taxpayers in South County should have the same level of access as I do to this board, which is why we should have been working to have one meeting in North and one meeting in South County, not reducing it to one. One meeting a month doesn't just undercut community engagement, but undercuts the efficacy of how board members advocate for our community, and instead hands over that responsibility to a bureaucracy. If you, as board members, have ideas, contributions, policy changes, or initiatives you want to spearhead, you now have one meeting a month to have the chance to have it discussed if it's placed on the agenda by the chair or superintendent. That isn't an effective, proactive, or best use of your positions as elected officials elected by the residents of this county. The town halls or Q&As being looked at should be an extension of this board's mission and responsibility of listening to its constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker will be Tracy Lipton.
Mr. Enos, if you would like to participate as a rational, nonpartisan school board member, as you were voted in to do, with the children and the school board being your top priority, then let your actions coincide with your words. Because 2 times ago when I was here, you came outside to speak with us very apologetically and soft-spoken, explaining that you had you known we were out there as we were to watch the new school board members be sworn in, well, and Mr. Edwards, you would have had them get us and fill the empty seats that were plentiful in the front of the room. And then you went back and put your vote in backing Ms. Marinelli as co-chair, going against what your community rallied for, and after listening, not hearing, the dozens of us speak about co-chair recommendations, and only one person in favor of Ms. Marinelli. Last time I was here, you also voted against what your constituents and community wanted, which was not to befall bi-weekly meetings and only have them once a month. So I've said many times, in particular over the last few years, your words mean nothing if your actions do not coincide with them. Remember that the Sarasota community members are not stupid. I think you've seen that in great degree already. Mr. Edwards, Mrs. Barker, I will always have confidence that you'll both continuously have the priorities of the students and community. Mrs. Ziegler, hi, thanks for showing up today. I don't really have anything to say to you because you're always going to pander. You're always going to be lazy unless there's something completely for your own benefit. So just have the day you deserve. Superintendent Connor, we have sang your praises many times for well-deserved reasons. It's very clear to myself and many, many others with the backlash over this issue and with the several times the community has taken time to come here and speak about this matter, and over 90% of us do not want the school board meetings to occur only once a month. After the last couple of years that the Sarasota community and school board has had, and the insanity that ensued because of it, and the drama, the national and local bad press, I would think it would be too hard to understand winning back the trust of the parents and the voters. I'm not asking you to kowtow or any such thing. I'm simply asking you to do the right thing. So once again, I ask you for transparency reasons, for obvious reasons, to please let the school board meetings continue at twice a month. I want to end by adding this evening was a kinder, lesser, Bat-Poo Sarasota school board meeting, and I want the school board to know it's appreciated. While there are still issues and differences in comparison to the last 2 years past, this was a breath of fresh air. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and that does conclude our public comments in reference to general comments. Seeing that, we'll go ahead and move into school board comments. Anyone like to go first? Oh, okay. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. Let me start by saying that yesterday Sarasota Magazine came out with 45 folks that are, quote, doing amazing things to make our community a better place, and our very own Rana Bazzini, who is in the audience tonight, is one of those 45 people. Congratulations. I also want to thank Mr. Hutchinson for organizing the 421 restaurant, which I like, by the way. Great breakfast. It's at the airport, Venice Airport, in case anyone needs immediate directions. But as many of you know, I've been an advocate for every student graduating with a plan. And when I say every student, I mean every student. And putting that work together, I'm grateful for you and 421 Restaurant for doing that. I want to comment on the 2 meetings a month. I will once again go on the record that and by the way, I've cleared that with our superintendent, so he knows my feelings, but it's not about efficiency or public comments from my perspective, because I think everyone is trying to be transparent and trying to offer opportunity for the public as much as possible. But for me, one of the real joys of being in the boardroom, of which there are not always a lot, is the celebration of our student representative, our teachers, our accomplishments, our students that come in and bring us the arts. And by having it once a month, we're cutting all of that in half. And that is, to me, the bigger issue. And I couple with that a second meeting in South County in Northport, I think, is desperately needed. I think the attention to allow those students and those families and to be part of what happens in the boardroom is really more for me. And it's all of the back and forth that's been happening. Those are my rationale as to why I would like to see a second meeting and have it be in South County. Lastly, I'm asking the board for a consideration for a topic that I think the board should have at a workshop, and it is around cell phone usage on our campuses. Let me start by saying that we, as a school district, are in compliance with all the state statutes, and our policies reflect that. But there's no reason why there can't be a more restrictive policy. Let me also say, I don't have an argument in this fight. I really don't. I think that the data is out there that cell phone usage and social media is damaging to students' mental health. And I also think that it has been confirmed that it's a distraction academically. But while talking to the community over the last year in a campaign mode, I was having countless conversations with parents about the issue from both sides of the conversation that really are fearful that if cell phones were not available and folks didn't have contact with their students on a daily basis. And on the other side, I've heard all of the other situation. And I think it's a conversation that we as a school board should offer amongst ourselves, amongst the community, and put it to rest so that we can find out what's the perfect fit for Sarasota. So I throw it out there as a topic that we should want to talk about at a workshop in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Ms. Ziegler?
Thank you very much. Well, I'll pick up where Mr. Edwards left off. I have brought forward, I know even in our retreat, I brought forward the issue of concern around cell phones. I've been pretty vocal on this. And I will say it's an issue that, just where I'm coming from and where I've been consistent, is it has been proven over and over again through studies that it does have a detrimental impact on mental health, on developing minds. It is a distraction, so it is counterproductive to the mission of our school district, full stop. So I stand, as I've proposed before, I believe a bell-to-bell ban is the appropriate way to go. I know that we are in compliance. I know that the state has put forward elements, and we are somewhat restrictive. I do believe that there's been some kind of, I would say less disruption in certain classrooms over the past, since we've tightened up the policy. Again, for the record, it is not as tight as I've advocated for, but I think that I welcome the conversation, certainly. I think, again, it makes me cringe when we approve a multi-millions of multi-millions of dollars of mental health, and yet we don't have a policy that really cuts out a device that we know is a massive driver to is an impediment to mental health. So I welcome it. I want to be. I know you mentioned you don't really have a dog. I don't know what the words were, but it does invoke a lot of passion, and I don't think any of us here is afraid of that. I think it. But I do believe if we're going to go down this road, it's imperative that, where does everyone stand on it? There's going to be, some of the stuff. I know Mr. Connor and I have talked about this since his actually onboarding. And I know Mr. Binswager has heard me on these issues. And so there are elements that I believe that staff would probably, I would like them to come, Mr. Connor, to come to us with some updated information, just to before we go into a very robust conversation, because it's a hard one. I mean, I'm on record. I know exactly where I stand on this. I don't mind being the one on the island on it, and I know there's a lot of mixed emotions with families and parents in particular, particularly because we have the very serious, real concern of any kind of security threat. That's the number one thing that I hear. It is a high risk but low probability kind of moment, but that is real. Again, I still say, with all that said, that's where I stand. But I think that the board members, because I think ultimately we haven't brought it forward anymore, because I think it's imperative that the board kind of signal to the superintendent what direction and how much information, because it is going to spawn a lot of reaction. And so before that, so I'm all in, let's do it, but I just want to put that caveat in there. But I look forward to the conversation, so appreciate it.
And thank you. And as I said, as the chair, anybody who brings forward anything in reference to putting out the agenda of the workshop, we'll go ahead. If Mr. Connor, if you could make note of that, to place us as a cell phone on there, as we have a workshop on that, because I do think that there's a lot of different, they're different between the board. As somebody was here when there was a zero policy, we heard from today, just an example, that the one student said that if we took cell phones away, there were people to intentionally violate it and become more aggressive. So paraphrasing in reference to that, and it comes back to, again, is an all-on-board approach with the faculty as well as everyone with your direction. So I think it would be something that we haven't discussed, and I think that it would be something, I know that we've discussed it. There's a lot of other pouches out there that can do. You can put up antennas to stop Wi-Fi service. I mean, there's a million things you could do, but I think that probably would be something, I know we have at least 2 board members. I'd be the third one to discuss it. So if we could add it to a workshop at some point, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Ms. Barker?
I agree. I think it is an absolute necessity that we have the discussion. I would add that caveat as a mom of older children who do have cell phones in school, and I think use them responsibly most of the time. That you're exactly right, Ms. Ziegler. We as parents live with a lot of fear. We want our children, when they get on the bus in the morning, to come home to us in the afternoon, and there is a level of comfort to watching that little red dot go through all their classes and the cafeteria. So the only thing I would add to that when we have this conversation is I'd love to hear from the community, from parents especially, what sounds appropriate to them, and just make sure that their voices are also heard on the issue. But I haven't honestly made up my mind one way or another about cell phones. I'm very torn. But I welcome the conversation. And in other news, I just want to acknowledge, thank you to those of you who spoke about the science textbook adoption. I have a slightly different lens on that because I was part of a textbook adoption committee. I was part of the K-5 math textbook adoption committee. And while as a parent, I can feel upset and disappointed that we have restricted the options to review for our students, and I don't think it's fair that my students, because they are in Florida, have less information when it comes to science than students in other states. I would love to see Florida edition textbooks that include information about red tide or hurricanes or the water table. If we're gonna make a special Florida textbook, I'd love to see more of that. That said, a huge thank you to the people on that committee, because it is hours and hours and hours of painstaking reviewing and rating textbooks. And so I just want to say, for the public and for the people who participated on that committee, it is not a willy-nilly process. It is very structured, and it is useful and productive. So that's science. Sorry, let me say nuts. Office hours. As I mentioned at the workshop, I would like to start offering office hours. I know it doesn't substitute for the additional meeting that folks are asking for, but it is a way for me to have another opportunity to listen and hear from y'all. So thank you, Mr. Binswanger is helping me get a sign up started. The first office hour session will be the 28th in the evening. Originally, I had thought to host them at the library, but my very kind co-board member pointed out that that may not be the safest option. So trying to balance accessibility and safety, at least to start, those sessions will be in the landings. So, and then I'm very open to moving them to other spots. As I said before, I'm only there as Liz. I cannot and will not speak for the superintendent. I cannot and will not speak for my fellow board members, but I can listen as Liz. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll be speaking for Joe Binswanger when I do mine, but Joe doesn't know that at this point, but thank you. We'll go real quick in there. I did mention the California fire and the first responders. I did believe the death count was about 24. Could not imagine the absolute terror that would be with reference to people are leaving their vehicles in the middle of the road and running. Here we have time because hurricanes come. We know what's going on. The devastation is there, but I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be in the fire. So, you know, my condolences and sympathies are with first responders and the people who've lost everything they've owned, because you hear from people that every single picture that they ever had of their kids is gone now. And I could not even fathom how traumatic that would be. In reference to the town halls, I know that is up for definitely for discussion. I've had many discussions with Superintendent Connor about that. So stay tuned, that will be coming, because that'll be also have an opportunity for the public to interact with the board. The south and north, nobody drives more than me and Mr. Edwards to these events. And I think that's an excellent idea, and we used to do it, we did it at Longboat one year, and I think I made the joke that one person came who had one child.
They pay a lot in taxes.
But either which way, I think that's something that's going to be really good. I did hear the bathrooms issue. You know, I know that the superintendent, I know this has been addressed on multiple times, is to be able to get the supervision to be able to be near the bathrooms. I've known that some areas, like I did a school safety assessment up in South Carolina, and they literally have a faculty member that sits in the hallway and checks one person at a time in a bathroom that has meant for 10. So hopefully, you know, you think about how labor intensive that is, but for safety, you know, I will be more than willing to do anything in the name of safety so that kids at least should be able to go to the bathroom. For those who were around back when Riverview was still Riverview, the first floor bathrooms, and only those who went there will understand the absolute atrocity that it was to go in there. But again, I know that the vaping is an issue. I've been talking to some people down at Charlotte County as they have a robust vaping program down there for prevention. So I know that is something that also here will need to be addressed at some point in the future. And again, with Ms. Barker, we're working on still converting the office, one of the offices up here at the landings, in order to have a desk printer, to be able to have it so that we can host meetings. Hopefully they'll be done at the time here, but I will be also hosting 2 times. Once will be here, once we'll be doing you probably will be at Northport High School or one of the high schools within the district to allow the South County people that have any information or need to be able to do with that. And we'll also, with Mr. Binswanger, who's excellent, we'll be able to have a sign up so that we know you're coming. And if nobody signs up, then that also gives us an opportunity to be with our families. But we want to make sure that we speak to everybody. Again, I'm just speaking as myself as a board, as a board member. The only last thing I will say is on the cell phone policy, there is a million articles literally that are out there written for, well, kids need it for public safety. Parents want to be there, and if there's an incident, there's this and there's that. there's lots of data out there, and it is something that is, without question, you look at social media and its impact, it's something that is ultimately very significant. A majority of your bullying takes place online. Majority of your bullying is through social media. A lot of it has to be reference to parents monitoring, and I always talk about that. Monitor your kids' social media, make sure you have conversations, because again, it's not if the next mass school shooting will happen, it'll be when and where will it be. And we need to make sure we're as diligent as always here at Sarasota County. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we notify the people so that it sees something, say something, and that we can do something about that. So with that, yes, Ms. Ziegler?
I just wanted to follow up on two things.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. In South County, can I ask that the chair and the superintendent look at some dates? Because it's something even if we're not talking about necessarily an additional meeting. I know that in the past, as is mentioned, it was very customary. We do two in South County at some point, whether it's first and fourth quarter or what have you. So if we could, because I think we all agree on that, and then if there's a way it can tie in with some kind of academic impact, something that's happening there, that would be great. And then definitely want to add on the office hours. I'm very excited we're doing this. This has been something that's been talked about for a year. So, that was the only two things. And I'm ready to counter any debate on the cell phone. I can counter all of them.
Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm grateful that we're all in agreement to have the discussion, but I think the ball should be handed off to the superintendent on making sure that the conversation is that we're all properly informed, surveys, all of those kinds of information that our teachers can be involved in, our community members can be involved in. So we have a lot of at least information before we begin our discussion, A, and B, and listen, obviously listen to the public comment that will be coming through the door. But I trust the superintendent to handle all of the necessary protocol and information that would be required for us to have a well-informed conversation.
Yes, thank you. And that's going to, it's nothing that takes place quickly in reference to this, especially when you're getting parental input and staff. So, but it definitely will be addressed, and I appreciate all the board's information. And I do know that any time that I've had any conversation with Superintendent Connor, he has been very, very well informed. He can speak as an authoritarian on it, and I am more than confident in his. I have big words, huh? That's very, yeah. See, my finance degree no, that's something different. So with that, I can't say any more bigger words tonight. Our next monthly work session is scheduled for Tuesday, February 4th. And then our next our next board meeting is Tuesday, February 18th at 6. And we will be making sure that we put the board members' times in the sign-up. Will be on the website, so please stay tuned to that. With that, we are now adjourned to the workshop.